Merry afternoon. If you're on your lunch break, you should be on your lunch break. That's the idea of this video. I hope you're not sneaking and watching it sneakily under the desk or anything like that. What'd you get, 15 minutes? Some of you get an hour. I know some of you think, I'm not skiving, by the way. I know, I read the comments, see what people say about me. Well, hammers. Good, huh? You like them? My mate Danny made them. And metal. See? Nice, huh? Thank you, Danny. I thanked him personally, obviously, but publicly, thank you, Danny. He's I'm not sure if he's a blacksmith or an iron worker. There's no such thing as an iron worker, is there? But whatever. He is a man of metal. Well, that's a robot, isn't it? But you know what I mean. He works with metal, and he made me some hammers. Pride of place in the old man cave. Thank you, Danny. Today's subject, scratching around, quite frankly, which is why I've just spent a minute talking about nothing. I've taken from the comments. There was a comment on the video. The video was, nobody wants Pellegrini's job. Was that Monday's? Was Monday's video? Wonderful comment on there from KPFWT. It says, hello Gonzo. I said on another forum, the only managers that will want to come to us are going to have to either be desperate, untested, or unknown. He's still in the MP Manuel Pellegrini in camp. I'm doing that. I don't normally do that, but that's what he's done. Inverted commas. But if I had to choose from the array of UK-based coaches, basically, he'd take a punt on Arteta. I love that. I love that. In fact, before I read on, I'm just going to deal with that Arteta bit. He is the young, up-and-coming coach in English football. There's no point in waiting for somebody like that to get a job and then bring him on, because he won't come to us. You get one shot at it and you hope he's the best. It's a gamble. It's a punt. Arsenal were very, very close to getting him, but they got Emery instead. Maybe they regret that. Who knows? So the moment he's done his first job, he doesn't come to us as his second. We have to get him as his first job. He's meant to be innovative, tactically really good, improves the players. Guardiola speaks very highly of him, desperate to keep him. Plus, he's been working under the tutelage of Guardiola for some time. So I think that's a really, really good shout. I think I mentioned him either mentioned him in private to Gio, or I mentioned Arteta on a video about a year ago, maybe, or something like that. But this guy is highly regarded in the game. Clearly, the English language is not a problem. He understands the domestic game. I thought that was a really, really good pump. But anyway, he goes on to say, I sometimes feel our fans have a championship manager attitude when it comes to transfers and managers. West Ham is not an attractive proposition for, for any successful manager. That's why we pay ridiculous salaries. The Mourinho suggestion was laughable in my opinion. I'm certain Golden Sullivan will have a reputation amongst managers, not just us fans, he goes on to say, about how they work and how they interact with their coaches, how they undermine continually, and how they don't provide the necessary funds. It happens in all careers at any level in any industry. Football can't be any different. He says, as the owner of a headhunting business, I can't for the life of me work out what's so special about West Ham and what would make the likes of Eddie Howe jump ship. Actually, he doesn't say ship, he just says jump. I put the ship in there. I'm very nautical, like that. I think that's a great post. That's a great post. I particularly, okay, about the fans having a championship manager attitude. He's talking about a computer game, isn't he, where you basically can have anyone. You sort of cherry pick. I'm like it. I play FIFA. Where's my controller? Look, I'm all set up in here in the man cave. Got me FIFA. No problem. I took over West Ham. Jadon Sancho straight in. No problem. Not a problem at all. I'm stealing players from everybody just to make my West Ham team on FIFA better. But there's it's not realistic. West Ham can't buy Jadon Sancho, and they certainly can't buy Virgil van Dijk, who I've also bought as well. But that's what he's talking about, the championship manager attitude, the computer game, the console attitude of going and cherry picking. And these names like Jose Mourinho and the likes of him, and thinking that we can just go and get those and West Ham would be attractive to them, is silly. I really like what he goes on to say, though. And It's about our owners having a reputation amongst other managers. Like, they will talk. Also, even if the managers don't talk to one another and discuss how it's worked out and how things have been for them at West Ham, people can certainly read between the lines. People look at how Slaven Bilic was a dead man walking for the last part of his tenure. People look at how David Moyes kept us up from relegation and got us into 13th or whatever he did, and then basically got released. The coaches, so for instance, David Moyes, coaches like Stuart Pearce are there, they're all going to speak to each other. They're clearly going to make phone calls. It's like KP says about it not being like any other industry. Word soon gets around with these places. So, for instance, clearly I'm a bathroom fitter. You can see. Be careful what I say here. But near here, there's a firm that supplies and fits bathroom stuff. Not a million miles away from here. They very, very quickly have got a reputation for basically not paying their staff, or paying their staff very, very late. So the word gets around just when you're in the suppliers and different places. You know, people will say, oh, you know, who do you work for? Where have you worked before? And this company often gets mentioned. They turn around and say, everyone says, I did a couple of weeks work for them once. They took them a month to pay me. Or some people say, do you know what? They just didn't pay me. And other people say they're a nightmare to work for. That's just chit-chat, business chit-chat. And he's right, we're fooling ourselves if we think that the football industry is going to be any different. So these football managers, before there's the potential to take a job, when they're being sounded out by the club, let's say the club, any club is tapping them up or putting the feelers out, seeing who would be interested in our next manager. So let's go with Eddie Howe for a minute. Let's use Eddie Howe as an example. Let's assume for a moment that Eddie Howe is slightly interested in the West Ham job. What's Eddie Howe do? I would imagine he puts his feelers out. Does he speak to Harry? Harry's just round the corner from him. Maybe he speaks to Harry. Harry might say, well, you know, I don't know an awful lot about all that stuff. I've not worked at West Ham for years. You have to speak to someone else. Maybe speak to Sam. Maybe he goes and speaks to Sam. Maybe he gets Sam Allardyce's opinion of what it's like to work at West Ham. Maybe he gets Bilic's opinion. Maybe he gets David Moyes' opinion on what it's like to work at West Ham United. And I think it's not a great job. Now, I'm not saying that undermining managers doesn't go on at other clubs. I'm sure it does. We are not aware of it. I'm not sure if other clubs have got this YouTube. I know everyone's got a YouTube channel, but we've got lots of YouTube channels, haven't we, at West Ham? We've got lots of websites. We're quite prevalent on social media as well as fans. I don't know if other teams are... I don't know how it works, because I wouldn't know about that sort of thing. So I don't know if other clubs undermine their managers, because we just don't hear about it on social media, on YouTube or whatever. But I think if they do, they probably do it quietly. And I probably think they probably do it not quite as consistently. I haven't heard, for instance, too many links about Silva at Everton. Maybe when Silva goes, he just goes. I don't know. I haven't heard too much tittle-tattle. But I just think that what KP is saying is absolutely right. Word gets around, and it's enough to put people off. Just my opinion, anyway. I thought that was a really, really, really good post. And I think it's something we certainly need to take into consideration when we're saying, oh, why don't we ask this manager? Why don't we ask this manager? It's like I was going to, whatever it was, yesterday's or Monday's, I think it was Monday's video, which obviously he's commented on. The job ain't as attractive as we like to think it is. And certainly, as KP says, it's not Championship manager. Just wanted to look at a couple of things on here as well. Not just the comments. It is something that I read on. Excuse me. There's something I read on Claret and Hugh, and it says Hammers line up January targets. And it says David Martin looks nailed on to step into the first team for the game against Spurs after the international break. It's yeah. I mean, it then goes on to say a load of stuff about how he's the son of Alvin and stuff like that. And then goes on to call Roberto Calamitous, which he is, of course. And it's basically It's about, despite, it says, despite Lucas Fabianski being likely to return in January, the club know they can't risk Roberto should Fabianski suffer another injury. Should Martin get the call, he has a big chance to prove himself, although a move in the market is still likely anyway. There'll be worries over trusting the manager or Mario Husilos's judgment. Various targets are believed to be being lined up. Why? Why were these two people signed? We don't know. Martin could be a fantastic keeper. He could come in and do well. I actually hope he does, because Alvin Martin's such a legend. I went to the Alvin Martin soccer school. I think it was actually called it wasn't a football school, it was a soccer school. In Wanstead Leisure Centre during my holidays once. And he came and gave all the trophies away around and gave us all footballs. And yeah, that was great. Alvin Martin, big, I mean, massive hero of mine, really, Alvin Martin. So if that's his son, I want his son to do well. But for himself, for Alvin, and for Alvin's legendary status at the club. But I still think, why were these people signed? Why was Roberto signed? And there is a blame game. This is what we're saying. Gio was talking about it on the video, on the cup of tea. There's a blame game going on. Everyone, do you remember when Payet got signed? Everyone was in a massive hurry to say, it was me, I picked Payet. But they say, no, me, I scouted Payet. And it was like a bit of a tug of war, wasn't it? Everybody was claiming that they purchased Payet or scouted him first. Lanzini was a little bit the same as well. This is the complete opposite. Everyone's in reverse. Everyone's backtracking. And yeah, well, anyway. So I just, whoever signed these people, particularly Roberto, what were they doing? Why are we now in a position where we're looking for another one? It just smacks of doing it on the cheap. And if it's doing it on the cheap, I'm not sure I lay the blame wholeheartedly at the door of Pellegrini or Husilos, which is not a combination I think is working particularly well anyway. But I just don't think it's all their fault. I just find it I shouldn't find it funny, but I find it amusing how everybody's trying to distance themselves from the signing of Roberto. Well, someone signed him, or unless he arrived by accident.